getting back to Arnold KLEIN here, if we can switch to camera one. This is, I don't want to go into the gobbledygook that this article is about, but I want to tell you this. I talked to Arnold KLEIN. He said to me, and this was years ago, when I was trying to get him to come to the studio, and there was no way his handlers were going to let him come up to Santa Maria and be interviewed by a journalist they didn't know, because I'm not part of the controlled media, as you may have noticed. KLEIN said to me, they want to kill me. I think they'll kill me by poison. And I said, well, poison will be really obvious, Dr. KLEIN. I think, if they killed you, they would probably do it with slow poisoning to make it, you're declining. And he said, yeah, you're right. They'll kill me by slow poisoning. And I said, would you come and let me get my camera and get together with you face to face and get it on tape? He says, no, I don't know who you are. He just got done talking to me for 5 minutes, but he doesn't know who I am. So I called Sergeant Steve Elbert of the Riverside Sheriff's Department just an hour or two before, I think it was like 4:45, 4:50 today, the 23rd of October. And I said to the person who answered, I said, give me somebody in authority or connect me to the corner of, and she said, well, I'll give you this. And I got Sergeant Elbert, and I said, Mr. Elbert, you need to do a test for slow poisoning of Dr. Arnold KLEIN. And the good sergeant there in Riverside said, well, it's in the family's hands. I said, really? You need to check to see if this man, you need to do an autopsy. I'm telling you, I believe the man was murdered. And they're already saying, oh, he checked into this facility in Riverside and he died. Well, everybody dies. Dolly, the sheriff's dead wife, died allegedly by asphyxiation by locking herself in the garage, turning on the auto key and quietly, peacefully going off to La La Land. But I don't believe she did that. I think she was murdered. And I'm telling you now, I've said this before, I believe Dolly was murdered because I was scheduled to do an interview with her less than 10 days later. And I called her on a phone I thought was secure. It never occurred to me somebody could be tapping her end. And why, I made a terrible mistake. I should have gone and found her face to face and talked to her face to face and set it up. But she didn't want to do an interview right then. She had a party to go and then she's going to go shopping. Then she said, oh, I can't do it. I got my hair needs to be done and all this sort of thing. All the female sort of things, And I'm like, this doesn't matter if your hair doesn't look good. It's what you know that your husband, while coordinating an attack on this guy, Michael Jackson, that's what I need on tape. We can even blur your face out if you want. I just need you to answer yes or no, and it's true and correct to the best of your, and she's not, this Dolly was not just a wife, a stay-at-home, cook the meals, sort of wife. She was once the jury assembly person that brought juries together. She was connected. She had a job in the system, okay? So she was not a pushover. She was not what some people might call a Dolly Parton or a wisp or, one of these females that you can just push over. She was a person, and she made me feel that. She's like, when I was trying to get her to do an interview that night, and then I said, how about the next day? Well, how about the day after that? How about the day after that? She said, well, I'm Dolly, and, I'll tell you when we're going to do the interview. And I got a party, and I got to get my hair done, and then I'm going to go shopping with my friend, and I'm going to do this and this. And okay, and we finally picked a date. But she was dead days before that date. I don't think that was an accident. Somebody wanted Dolly dead before I could get her on film under oath as to what she knew about the chicanery that was going on in this county of Santa Barbara where I'm doing this show right now, even though you're not seeing it live tonight, because a piece of equipment mysteriously broke down yesterday and it can't be fixed for days. So you won't see this for a long, long while. And try to fax to Sergeant Elbert my statement that they should, and I've already called them, and that's why I'm telling you about it now. So if it's later it's said, oh, we had to bury him or cremate him, and that's what the relatives wanted. And I asked him, well, who? I called him back a second time, and I said, who's the family? Who? Because, I mean, his mother and dad are dead. He allegedly was a gay man, had no children, allegedly. I'm not going to go into all the spurious crap the yellow journalism say about him fathering children by somebody. I'm not going to go into that. That's never been proved, and KLEIN never admitted any of that nonsense. What I'm concerned about, I'm trying to tell him, I believe, based on the conversation I had with Dr. KLEIN before he got to be a total basket case, that he believed because they had stole all his stuff and were trying to make it look legal, they were going to kill him. And now he's dead. I wish I had pursued it more vigorously. I wish I had, grabbed my camera and just, that's Dr. Arnold KLEIN when he was a little more lively than he is now. And the reason it's important because he knew things about Michael Jackson I wanted to ask him about. But first I had to do an interview about his former lover, boyfriend, whatever, who I did talk to on the phone, the ex-lover, and I wanted to do an interview with him. And he said, sure, I'll do an interview, but then he never would. And I wanted to ask him, how did you open these accounts? How did you sign KLEIN's name and transfer KLEIN's millions of dollars or hundreds of thousands or whatever it was and open an account that KLEIN didn't know about? How does that happen? Of course, I never got to do that interview, neither did I get to do the interview with KLEIN. I can understand KLEIN not knowing who I am because I do my show in Santa Barbara and it doesn't air regularly in Los Angeles. But it is on YouTube. Lots of this is on YouTube. I think the last time I checked, it showed 1,800 clips on YouTube. Some of them are full, 90-minute TV shows. The whole show, I just put the whole thing up because I'm a producer. They never used to let even producers do that, but now if you're a producer, they'll let you do that. So I wanted to mention that because this is going down tonight. Tonight is the Sabbath for Jews. At sundown, the Sabbath starts on Friday. It continues to sundown on Saturday. And Jewish people, and he was maybe not a real good Jew. I mean, he was a gay man, and I think, the Jews didn't approve of gayness, but I don't think he was even going to synagogue. But I don't know because I never got to do that interview. But there are a couple people who did talk to him, trying to get him to talk to me. But I can't get to them tonight. So I'm just going on record that I believe KLEIN was murdered by slow poisoning, whether it was arsenic or some other drug that disappears after 24, 30 hours and you can't detect it anymore. I noticed a slow decline even at his bankruptcy hearing where he tried to speak, he tried to sound intelligent, and I could tell even then, it seemed to me he was being poisoned. His brain wasn't functioning quite as well, even at the bankruptcy hearing. And that's when me and this lady talked to him afterwards, and I have cell phone pictures I took of him. And I did get a little video as his handlers, one handler and a driver, pushed him into the car as fast as they could get him, put his wheelchair in the back, and took off. They did not want me to get close enough to ask him anything on video. And that continued right up till yesterday, Thursday, when he allegedly died of natural causes. I don't believe Dolly died of natural causes. I don't believe that what's his name in Las Vegas that was trying to help Michael, that he died of natural causes. I don't believe a lot of these people die of natural causes. But, Nancy Schaefer, I investigated her murder. She was murdered. But the GBI, Georgia Bureau of Investigation, put it down on paper. Her husband shot her in the back. Big problem with that. Number one, they didn't find the cell phone I gave Nancy, and she was communicating with me, only with me on that cell phone, because I bought it and I sent it to her, only to talk to an identical phone that I had. They never found a cell phone. And she talked to me, I think 3 days before that, and I asked her where she was keeping her cell phone. She says, well, I usually keep it right by my nightstand, by my bed. They didn't find the cell phone. It wasn't in the property records. And then GBI destroyed all the forensic evidence, knowing I had already put in a request to review it. Who does that? They know I'm there, I'm in Georgia, I'm calling them, and they're avoiding releasing the fact that they've concluded. They waited weeks till I was out of Georgia, and then they destroyed the forensic evidence and never called me back. These aren't accidents, people, and I'm not paranoid. I'm telling you, bad stuff happens to people who fight for justice. Here's another case. I went up to Oregon 3 times before I found this white-haired guy who used to play Santa Claus. He's still alive. And that's his little girl, Melissa, who's now 23 or 24. She's now an adult invalid after being drugged, electroshock treated, after they took her away from her dad. She was run through 23 foster homes, molested by lesbians and molested by dirty old men, and finally given shock treatment to make her forget everything. And then they made her an adult invalid. No wonder Pamela was murdered. She was starting to collect on the pensions, the properties of the judges and the criminals that helped steal Melissa, even though a jury found, and it's on my YouTube clips, they found this guy, Wilbur Gaston, completely innocent. And the judge was so pissed. I think it's got 100,000, 200,000 views. Because you can see the judge is angry, and he dismisses the jury while Pam and Wilbur, seen here on the cover with his daughter, Melissa, Pamela and Wilbur were trying to pool the jury and say, jury, we'd like you to answer. Did you find us not guilty because you found they committed fraud? Will you give us a statement? And the judge say, jury, out. You're done. You're dismissed. Get out. Boom, boom. Jury, get out. And then all Pam could do is say, well, thank you, thank you, thank you. The courts are completely corrupt because they're run by corrupt people who are bar carded to run them. They're not licensed. And the practice of law is a common law right. And there is case law, and the Supreme Court has upheld that over and over and over. And I wish you could find that idiot who used to send me emails and say, William Wagner, it sounds like you're practicing law. Sounds like you're trying to teach law on television. Are you practicing law? That's illegal. No, the common law belongs to we the people. That is a common law right we never gave up. You just don't tell us about it. Anyway, enough of that. I don't think Michael's Botox doctor, seen right here, and Arnie KLEIN, I don't believe for a minute he died of natural causes. And if they don't do a check, some of these things like curare and some of these highly delicate stuff that can kill you, it just dissipates out of your body. If they don't get to it and they run the formaldehyde, drain the blood and bury the body, you'll never be able to prove it. So I made the extra effort to call them and say, yes, I do a TV show, but I'm also a witness to a material fact that KLEIN told me, and I wanted him to tell me on video. I wanted him to come up here to the studio, which he wasn't inclined to do because he'd never heard of me, didn't see me on his television, and he was too busy to look at stuff like what I do. Several people tried to get him to look, but I think he was too far gone already at the federal bankruptcy hearing.